Bundling home and car insurance with Geico is so easy, your neighbors are probably already doing it. But who? They may drop little hints like,
beautiful day out. Even more beautiful since we saved by bundling our home and car insurance with Geico.
or
Yard work is hard. Much harder than bundling with Geico, which was easy.
or it may be even subtler, like,
Speaking of burgers, we bundled our home and car insurance with Geico and saved a bunch of money.
bundling is easy with Geico. Just ask your neighbors.
And now it's Geico's Motorcycle Rules of the Road. Before you ride, make sure your mirrors are clean and adjusted properly. And if you're going on a group ride, make sure the lead biker knows where they're going.
Ed, quick question. Where are you taking us?
Oh, I have no idea. Well, am I the leader? Because I was following that dude with the red helmet. Where is he?
And the rule to saving on motorcycle insurance is, in 15 minutes, Geico could save you 15% or more.
This show is brought to you by The Makery, the podcast network for makers.
Welcome, one and all, to Knife Talk, the podcast, the greatest knife-making podcast in the world. You don't have to be a maker even, you just have to be interested in knives. The biggest knife-related podcast in the world. I think that's what we'll call it. Nobody's checking. We can say what we like.
It's huge.
Myself, Craig Lockett of Chop Knives. As usual, I'm joined by Mareko Geoff of Marmassi Fire Arts and Jeff Fader Knives. How are we all?
Doing good.
I think we might be better than you.
Quite possibly. I've been pretty sick this week, especially the last couple of days. So yeah, it's fine. But I'm glad we're not doing that we're not doing the live show, because I look like shit. And
compared to last week with no pants on.
I forgot about that. Yeah. We must have had a spike in our listenership for that one. We must have.
Oh, yeah.
There's a spike somewhere.
I wonder how many people were so excited for the live stream.
Dude, speaking of that, we have to talk about the live stream at some point, but the funny part is I was checking out the YouTube channel and looking at some of the comments, and one guy wrote, judging for the fact that you only have 300 views per video, obviously something's not working. It was just very just matter of fact.
Fair enough. I mean, we talked about it last week. It is fun, genius. But yeah, statistician. It is fun to do it, but we just have that same core of people all the time, which is great. But it's such a small proportion of the audience, and the audio suffers for it. So I think we're better off doing this for a while, and we'll see how technology moves on in the next few months again. Maybe we can get good audio doing video too.
Well,
do you think the stream
also have?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, do you think the stream would be good for when we have a guest or something like that? That way we can get live questions in the moment? Or,
yeah.
The audience is always
I don't think we rule it out.
It's not massive.
I don't think we rule it out.
Right.
It's just, for general shows, I think maybe we go this way.
It's the capturing of the audio. That's the problem, and that's the only really issue. And we did get a lot of feedback in the last episode. People said we said for the listeners to send messages whether you listen to the live or you don't listen to the live, and it was pretty interesting in regards to most of the responses. So we can go over that later if you want. Yeah.
Okay. This week, what we've been up to, Jeff? Let's start with you. What's been going on?
It was we got this new person working for us, and we actually had a Zoom meeting one night, and it was actually I was impressed. I felt like I shouldn't have even been there. Tony and this new person were super, back office, high end. I was sitting there with my hands between my legs, just listening and shutting up. It was awesome. I was just God damn, this is a real company now. So that was really cool, and we got some work done. And we're actually Tony and I was in on Thursdays, coming down more regularly on Thursdays, which is great because we kind of go over big orders. We have a job coming up that I'm really looking forward to. It's a big color lab set. Nice. And we're looking forward to proceeding. We sent the bid in, so we're really hoping for that. And then what's actually more interesting is now that I'm thinking about it, is in the last episode we were talking about chiller plates. I was thinking about the chiller plates because I got one of the Mareko Platens, which is amazing. I'm actually going to be carving some knives on some handles on Monday. I can't wait to use it, but it is beautiful. You did such a great job designing that thing. It's really much more handy than people would think. It's really it's a it's a super simple looking thing, but just having that clearance makes such a big fucking difference. It's crazy. I'm looking forward to giving it a whirl. I'm super excited, but it made me start to think. Last week we were talking about chiller plates. Somebody asked about chiller plates. Yeah. And we put a call out to Adam from Built Sharp, who listens, and he sent me a ton of information on why he uses chiller plates. So a chiller plate is like part of your platen on your 2x72 grinder that you can attach, and it has like inside the platen there's like room for water. And then you have two plugs that go into the chiller plate that go down with tubes that go down to a bucket of water. You put the ice water in, and then it's flowing cold water through the chiller plate. So we were talking. Somebody was asking what it was about, and you and I, we all were just kind of like, I don't know. So what Adam said to me was the reason why he uses chiller plates is a lot of times when he's using a radius platen, like a Bill Benke radius platen. When you're pushing your platen past the wheels, you create more friction on the platen, especially with like a radius platen. So what happens is it's not going to keep your knife cool, but the chiller plate is going to keep the platen cool, because if the platen gets too hot with certain belts,
So he's got a chiller plate which has a radius to it too.
Yeah, well, yes, yeah. So I think that's one of the things. But wait till I tell you all the chiller plates he has. This is hilarious. He says that the problem is the friction on the platens can get so hot that they can actually melt the glue seam on the belts.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's the most important thing, is you're keeping the belts from, I don't know how hard he's pushing. I don't know the extent of it, but I mean, Adam from Built Sharp is one of the best knife makers around. It's just like, if he says it, that's the way it is. So he says it's really helpful in terms of keeping the belts cool, so the glue seam doesn't wear away or melt away, and then the belt falls apart. He also uses it for those radius arms. What are those? You know what I'm talking about? Those, that you use, Mareko, that for some reason the name is escaping me, but it's got the belt on the inside.
Oh, the rotary platen.
Rotary platen. He says the chiller plates are good for rotary platen, because I don't know how he uses it, but he uses it.
Yeah. I can't see how that would be used, because obviously the backing of those rotary platens is flexible. And
it's fitting.
But
you must have it.
But if it's right behind the belt, what would if that chiller plate wasn't there, the rubber would be building up friction just like normal, and it would start ruining that belt. But if you got the chiller plate right behind it, I think Jeff was just about to get to, but that helps keep it from breaking down.
Exactly. That's what he was saying. He says that those belts break down, so the chiller plate helps. So he ended up, he's a great guy, and he's totally nuts too. He's got CNC machines all over the place. He made a chiller plate for his quench plates. So when he's quenching his stainless steel knives, he's got cold water running through the fucking plates. And
that's
then
what I've been saying.
Dude, and then he's just like, I got everything water cooled. I got my everything in this whole shop's water cooled. He's got water cooled CNC machines. He's got water cooled everything. So shout out to Adam for answering the question.
That's next level. Chiller plates,
dude.
That's next level.
He loves it. He loves his water cooled quench plates.
And a zinc spoon, water cooled, with pipes in and out.
Water cooled jock strap.
Yeah. No, it'd be like a bicycle seat, right?
Yeah. Keeping it cool. Yeah,
that's right. So
I've got a bit of paper in front of me, and I've had this in front of me here for months probably, and all I can see written on it at the moment is "bitten in the peen." So I assume I've written that down in a previous episode, thinking that's possibly a show title, but I can't remember. I can just see "bitten in the peen" written.
Wasn't that just like last episode?
Yeah. You just write weird things down and forget about them?
Yeah, a lot of the time, yeah. Very strange. Anyway. Mareko, what's been going on?
Well, I'm still coming down off my trip from Hawaii. And like I said, when I got back, I had one knife that was basically done, and then a couple more that just need a bit more refinement. So I've just kind of been working on fine-tuning those. The big one, the Chef, I got it etched. I got the handle finished out, everything all waxed out, everything looking good. So that one's ready to rock and roll. I'm waiting for some stuff to get in. I'm building kind of a mod for running a kind of belt behind my grinding belt situation. And so I'm waiting for the hardware to get in. Basically, I'm waiting on some bearings. But basically the idea is that I'm running a belt behind, because I've talked about piggybacking belts, I think, before on the show, where you piggyback maybe a finer grip belt on a heavier back belt, especially like when grinding like integrals and stuff like that. There's always a little bit of a gap between that small wheel and the ramp, and for when you get up to like 220, 400 and higher, you're on a lightweight backing usually. And so what I started doing was using like a worn out 120 belt or something like that, and piggybacking the 220 or 400 on top of the 120. So both belts are running on the machine at the same time. But that can be a little hairy. And so I've been playing with this new system of piggybacking that I think is good. But yeah, I'm just waiting on some hardware to finish fabbing out and making this modification on my grinder so I can play with this new idea.
So would that work like a rotary platen? Would have, a belt below? So the whole purpose is you can use a thinner weight belt, but still be able to sort of work it, I assume. Yeah,
the beauty of like what Adam's got is you can run a hard backing behind. If you don't have like a chiller plate, you can still run a hard backing. You just want to pull your RPMs down, and then probably take breaks. But the rubber belt helps eliminate that bump that you might get on a hard backing with a thin belt, especially like a J weight or the like. But it also allows you, it helps you achieve a more satin finish at lower grits, just because you don't have that hard backing pushing through the abrasive belt and into the knife. You have this soft backing. It's still flat and it still gives a great finish, but it satins out a lot easier. And so it's a similar thing, but it's not with the rubber belts, it's with different belts.
So that sounds really interesting. And what I would wonder is it would have to be adjustable, right? Because all belts are different. The belt that you're having made, all the belts have different tensions.
Sure, yeah. So basically, it would run similar to a rotary platen, where it's kind of it's a smaller belt running underneath the 2x72 inch belt, and it rotates from the friction of the larger belt riding over the top of it. Same way a rotary platen would work.
I'm so stupid. I figured it was like the size of a 2x72 belt. I didn't realize.
Well, I mean, I was just talking about how I used to do the piggybacking that way, but now I didn't say, no, you're not stupid. I didn't mention that it was actually going to be a smaller belt running underneath the 2x72. So
because that would make sense.
Help clear up some confusion for a lot of people listening right now.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because then all of us, because that's why I'm thinking to myself, he's going to need because a Scotch-Brite belt stretches so much differently than a J-weight belt. I'm thinking he's going to have different belts for different sizes, and I'm just like, moron. He just do it to the two belts, to the two wheels on the platen, you moron, and let it roll. Wheels, yeah. Doesn't really matter then. Right. So sure. Funny.
Yep.
Smart.
Very cool.
Yeah. And actually something I have been playing with, I don't use an integral grinding platen. I've stopped using. I had one when I worked in Connecticut, and I kind of stopped using it because I like a tighter corner in there, just because it's harder to do, and it's a lot. Everybody who does an integral usually has like maybe a 3/4 inch or 5/6 or 5/8 inch like radius in that integral. And what I started using was the edge of my platen. And my friend Chris Rowley, who's actually a maker, his shop's like 10 minutes from my shop. He was actually on Forge and Fire too. He's like a vet and all this stuff. But he just posted a video I'll try. I think his Instagram handle is NC Tools. But what he did is he made a platen with radiused edges, and you can adjust the tightness, like how tight those edges are. And what he just does, which is what I do too, but I haven't made a platen that's a dedicated platen. But he just rides the belt over the edge of the platen, and then he just, he engages the blade like you normally would, like the face of the blade, and then he just jams the shoulder of that integral right into that radius. And, you probably want it like at least a 220. So you probably got to get close with like a 120, and then really get in there and clean it up with a 220 and 400. But I thought it was really smart, and it was a cool little tip that he put on his Instagram.
That's one of the great things about makers. We have the idea of what a grinder is supposed to do and how you're supposed to use it. And then all of a sudden you find these different techniques. Actually reminds me, I was talking to, there's a young man named EC, I think it's EC Knifery. EC Knifery is his name. Good kid, great kid. I'm pretty sure it's EC Knifery.
Knifery, isn't it, with a V?
Right. So he's doing some sculpture where it's like a steel tree branch, where he's made some tapers and then welded, the tapers, and now he's trying to splice in the grinds. So he was sending a message out there, does anyone know the easier way to kind of clean these up? And I mentioned to him that what we used to do back when I was at Center for Metal Arts, and we did a ton of splicing, and to the point where I love cleaning up splices of scrolls or whatever. And I was saying because he was looking at buying like one of these long finger belt grinders, handheld finger belt grinders. They suck, and all those kind of like drum belts, and they all suck for cleaning on like a MIG weld connection. And I said what you should do is get yourself a cutoff disc, and then use on the right angle grinder and use it like a feather. Don't use the grinder like a cutoff wheel. Use it like you're almost like it's like a pencil, and you're just kind of feathering in the weld. And I sent him some videos, and we talked, and then he sent me back some pictures he said it was much easier. But it is, the best thing is with makers is trying to figure out these new ways to use what you have and figure out ways in which you can make your work easier. I love it. I love it. Love what you're doing.
I just pulled up Chris's Instagram. It's NC Knives and Tools. No underscores or anything, just NC Knives and Tools. Yeah, Chris Rowley. He's a good guy, and it's a really pretty good tip, and it is his most recent post.
And I would imagine, especially if you had the Broadbeck Ironworks grinder, they'd have replaceable plates, so you could just. And then they sell them for like almost nothing. It's cheaper to buy one of their replacement plates than to buy the steel and drill the hole and cut the taps and stuff. So you could probably get a pile of those, and then you could have different radiuses on those, and then just swap them out as you need them.
Well, and what I was thinking is actually, like I was talking last week, how I have my radius platen set up to just rest. It just sits right on the front of my flat grinding platen, because that flat grinding platen sets back like, I don't know, like 3/4 inch, half an inch. And so you can just push that flat platen back and then put whatever kind of platen on the front of it. It's just about like setting up those tabs so it stays on there. But then the tension of the belt all keeps it in place. You got tabs on the side and tabs on the top to kind of hook it on and keep it from wobbling all over the place. But I'm probably going to be making some radius platens that just rest right on the front, and I don't have to deal with any nuts and bolts or anything.
Well, it could be a whole series of Mareko signature platens, the DP, the rounded butt,
Jesus,
and lots of other double entendres we can think of.
We were having this was a real knife talk, guys. We were really talking about knife baking.
We were getting into it then, yeah.
So what last tip now that we're in the grinder tip thing, I saw something recently Jason Knight was doing, and if you have a small, tiny shop, this is the move. He was hand sanding off of his grinder. So basically he got one, what is it, 1 1/4 by 1 1/4, 1.5 inch by half, the arms. What are the arms on grinders? Standard?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I think it's like 1 1/4 or 1.5.
he made a sanding platform that fits in there. So if your lighting rules by your grinder, you just unhook your platen, and then you make like a rest that fits in the grinder arm.
Smart.
And then all of a sudden, your awesome lighting is still your awesome lighting. And if you don't have the room,
dust collection, if you've got it, yeah, that's cool. I like it.
Look at this is like fucking real knife talk, guys.
I got one more actually. I got one more.
Let's fucking do it. Let's fucking do it.
So last week I was talking about the Broadbeck and how the platen tilts so far forward, and trying to see if I could sit down in front of it, and I did it, and I was able to set it up and just sit in a standard like rolling chair. Although I think in the future like a fixed chair will be better, because that way you can kind of push against the ground and push up into the platen. But I did it, and I set it up so that I was basically looking straight ahead. I wasn't craning my neck down, looking straight ahead and grinding the same way I normally would as if I was standing at the grinder. And I think that's really going to be a game changer for me some of the strain and issues I feel in my back and my neck.
Look, did you have one of those little foot spars on the go as well at the same time? And
a what? What's a foot spar?
A foot spar?
You know those shitty little foot spars. So you plug them in, you put a bit of
the
water
paraffin
and they
wax
bubble
in
away.
And the fish are chewing up on his feet.
The fish chewing up the dead skin. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Get a manicure or pedicure and grind blades.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, we had a nice knife talk, and then all of a sudden it's fish eating your feet. Come on.
Mareko on his shoe shine station, doing his grinding. Yeah. It's hard to say. Shoe shine station. Keep all of that.
How you doing there, Craigo?
What have I been up to? I've been sick. In fact, the whole family have been sick. So the kids have been off school this week as well. They're just coughing and phlegming everywhere, and terrible. But I've been not too bad until maybe yesterday, or maybe the day before. And my head, I'm just spaced out all the time. It's just it's getting to me. But hopefully it'll be on the mend soon. But I have been designing the next knife, which is going to be a paring knife, which I won't be doing for maybe a month or two at least anyway. But yeah, I've just been working on some sort of designs and just getting some prototypes 3D printed, that kind of thing. And that's pretty cool, because I've never really done like a paring knife as like a permanent stock kind of thing. I've done the odd one, or the odd two for a set with a chef knife, but never had a permanent stock of them. So I'm going to get a bunch laser cut and then the templates and go from there. So yeah, I'm just making sure I get that right, and it's been fun actually. Just 3D printing them, getting them in my hand, and making sure they're going to do what they need to do, because it's a very different beast to a chef knife, because it's all in handwork mainly, a paring knife. So a longer handle than I originally thought is working a lot better, and it's good. I'm quite excited about it. It's going to be very sort of clean looking, very sort of fresh. So it's quite nice.
I have a question for you about the H knife.
Yes.
Have you thought about putting an extra spacer in and having a double knife?
No. No.
All right. Well, that's the answer for that.
Actually, all right, guys.
I did knife talk.
I did give it some thought, but I don't think there's any need. It's quite a sort of stout blade on this, and those sort of gentlemen's, like those classic pen knives that this is a take on. You do see some as a double ender, as people might call it. But I don't see the point in having two blades that are pretty much the same. One maybe slightly smaller. This isn't a huge blade anyway, so it's not too big. But it's I don't really see the point in having a second thing unless it's like a bottle opener or a bloody screwdriver, and then you're talking it's a different territory then. So yeah, this is very classic intentionally and staying that way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I had some bad news as well this week. So we mentioned a secret. So you guys knew about it anyway, but we didn't mention it on the show just in case. So I was shortlisted for a TV show, and I met with producers and all that kind of stuff. And we were pretty far down the road, but it's a no, I'm afraid. It's a
what
no.
the fuck?
Yeah, I'm
That's
pretty
crazy.
gutted. So Yeah, I mean, they're I've got no right to be on the show, but their reason for it is.
That was a good idea
it's all about,
for that book.
I think so.
Can you talk about it at all, or?
I can now. Yes.
Come on.
Well, what the fuck they
better
gonna do?
not
What the fuck are they going to do?
better
They're
not
already
steal
3
it,
out.
So it was Jamie Oliver's new TV show, which he's been talking about on his Instagram, where they're looking for a new cookbook star. So basically, it's a TV show along the lines of sort of MasterChef and these sort of knockout shows. Each week somebody leaves, a new challenge each week. And the winner gets to publish a book with Penguin Random House, which is by far the biggest publishers for cookbooks. You do it almost in conjunction with Jamie. He's sort of using his photographers and all the rest of it. So you're part of his sort of stable, if you like. Right. So it's a pretty cool prize. And I just thought the process would be incredible anyway. So you had to pitch this. The first part of the application was pitching your idea. It had to be a 2-minute video, and you had to pitch a unique idea. Mine wasn't, it wasn't unique, but it was just a matter of circumstance for me. So mine was called The Sunday Chef, and the whole idea is on a Sunday you set aside 2-3 hours, and you do all your cooking for the week. So it's sort of batch cooking, but then working out how you can take certain ingredients and reuse them for multiple meals as well, So the whole idea is cold, wet Thursday evening where it's easy to make a bad decision and maybe call for a pizza. Instead of doing that, within 10 minutes you can have, something quite luxurious made. You're not just, chucking something in a microwave. You're going to have something there ready, which can be ready for you in 10 minutes. That's going to feel quite luxurious. And that's for the whole family. That's not just for yourself. So that was the idea. This was the Sunday Chef. So made the video, sent that off. Didn't hear anything for a few days. Then I had a phone call from a producer, and that was almost an hour. And it was out of the blue. I wasn't expecting the call. It just happened, and we were chatting, and we just got on really well. And we were chatting for like an hour, and we were talking about knives and talking about music, and he had young kids as well. It all went really well. So then he said the next stage would be a Zoom call with the 3 other producers. So there'd be 4 of them. And I was like, fine, I'm up for it. This is obviously being filmed in the UK. And the filming was, I think, 12 days of filming over 21 days. So, not a massive time out of a schedule for, this kind of show. Things like MasterChef can go on for months. Right. So I was quite excited. I had to call a Zoom call with the producers. Again, it went very, very well. But that was it. And then, I think, is it yesterday morning or this? Yeah, yesterday morning, I had an email saying, that's it. That's the end of the road for me.
Fucking emails.
So I got to basically the last part, really, and what the guy was saying, it's then really not about the people. At that point, anybody could be on the show, but it's about getting the right mix of people. And I can only assume that there's a bunch of middle-aged white men trying to get on the show.
Diversity.
Yeah, I'm not blaming it on that, but I can imagine. You see these shows, and sure. you don't want to have 12 of me on the show. Then you want a bunch of different people. So I'm a little gutted, but. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. But I think it just would have been a great experience. I've talked about in the past. Jamie's a huge sort of food hero of mine.
Doesn't he own some of your work?
He doesn't.
Okay.
I've tried. I've made 2 knives for him actually. One was returned.
What?
What? When I say returned, I mean it wasn't even opened. It was returned. With shipping.
Why?
And I'm not.
Wrong address?
Well, he closed a lot of his offices down and a lot of his restaurants as well. So I'm pretty sure that the office that I sent to was, returned to sender. But I did hear from Fingal, actually, I know he has some of his work. Fingal gave me an address and said, we'll make sure it gets to him. But I haven't completed that one and sent that off yet. And, his things got on top and all the rest of it. So he doesn't actually have any of my work.
Is it?
And fuck him now. That's a joke.
No, it's not 100%. You know what? I think you're overlooking one of the reasons why you're not on it, and I think it's because He probably saw your name and was just like, this fucking guy is stalking the shit out of me. Sending me knives. I have to send him back and let him know. And now all of a sudden my producers want him on the show. What about this guy's going to like be my stalker?
Quite possibly. Quite possibly. I think maybe the biggest sort of scare was the fact that I'm based in France. And I said, I'm still a UK resident, and I can still legally travel back as much as I need to and all the rest of it. But I just think it's maybe just one extra thing for them to think, it's an easy out.
Right.
Particularly with the whole sort of COVID thing going on, and he was mentioning that that they're going way and above and beyond sort of government recommendations on COVID. So yeah, I can understand why not. So I'm gutted, but it's all good.
It's interesting because I was just listening to Making It podcast, Jimmy DeResta's new episode with this Hollywood set maker. I think his name's Frank Il Paletto or something like that. He's a good dude, really amazing maker. And what they were talking about was budgets. And they were talking about on these TV shows, it's not the budget of, like, if they had a project to do, like, and then the staff, the people on the TV show are really stressed. It isn't the budget and the time budget of the shop. It's the time budget of the production company. And we've talked about this before, that all these shows that we like or that could be better, it's always down to the production company. So that's exactly right. They could have been like, oh, this dude from France is going to give us nothing but problems. It might cost us, whatever, a day or two, because Jimmy was saying that when they were doing their show, they were worried about the camera guys being paid overtime, and like as soon as the clock hit the button, everyone drops their stuff. Meanwhile, the people on the set who were like, him and the guys who were working on their show are like, they're working through the night. And what about us? They care about the production company budget as opposed to everything else. Could have been that.
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine the way it works is a production company would pitch to a network, with a cost involved. And, anything they can save them, once that cost is agreed, anything they can save is profit for them, because they're a business. And, fair enough. That's how we should all be working.
That is ultimately the reason why all these makers who bitch about maker shows, the reason why they're bitching about the maker shows, it's always not about the show itself. It's always about the costs that the production companies are willing to make, the budgets to make the shows, where they cut out a lot of stuff that would make the shows better.
Right.
Yeah.
There we are.
So yes, that was my little venture into showbiz.
We'll get you, Jamie Oliver. It's the last thing we do.
But whilst we're talking about budgets, we all work to a budget. We all do. But what we can do, we can save you money. You lovely listeners, you. So if you're doing your own heat treat, you're obviously going to need one of the best ovens in the business, which is the best oven. It's an even heat. A huge range of stuff that they do, whether you 120 or 240, or whether you're making huge swords. They've got something for any knife maker. So that's an even heat kiln, but we can get you a discount if you go to knifetalk.net/heat. Heat, HEAT. That'll take you to Soul Ceramics, who are a distributor for Even Heat. So they can build the exact machine that you want. They can get it shipped to you. You'll get $75 off and free shipping in the US. So that's by using Soul Ceramics. They're an Even Heat distributor, and you can get that by going to knifetalk.net/heat. And we'll also have the link in the description, and that'll apply those discounts immediately. So if you are working to a budget, we can save you money.
Yeah.
What we got, Jeff? What we got lined up for today?
Well, it's really up to you, to be honest with you. We have tough scenarios that we're to answer, given to us by our listeners. We have regular listener feedback, and we have some listener feedback in regards to the live show versus the non-live show. So, and then not to mention, we also have the regular show notes, so the regular questions from the audience. So it really, guys, up to you, whatever you guys want to do.
I tell you, let's take a question first.
Okay.
Mareko, do you want to take the first question there?
Yeah, sure. All right, this first question is from Jamie Mackey. He says, "Yo, I've got a question for you lot. I'm looking to improve my work by learning some new skills via classes. Jewelry making has obvious analogs to knife making, so that's one class. What other non-knife making classes would improve my work as a bladesmith, not blacksmithing either, as I worked as one, and it's too obvious?" So other classes, non-knife making classes that you could learn. I know.
We always talk about, most of us work for, just ourselves as knife makers. We may be working with one or two others, but generally we're small businesses. So I think things like maybe accounting or marketing or photography, all these other skills that we all need, maybe to spend a bit of time on something like that could be nice. And there's lots of things that I need to be doing this on, so it's easy for me to say. But if you have got the time and you are looking for extra classes, maybe that kind of thing could sort of pay in dividends in the long run.
Sure. I think that's great.
Everybody wants to take an accounting class.
I know, it sounds boring as shit. I know. I know.
I'm so excited this weekend. I'm gonna do an accounting class.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably better to spend a little money and take a class so you have a basic understanding rather than getting bananas in the tailpipe later.
How many bananas in the tailpipe will you take before going to an accounting class?
There you go. So I would say some sort of one of my favorite embellishments I see that I consider it just like a basic thing, or not a basic thing, but a skill that's used across various disciplines. But I love kind of like the carving and engraving that people do in their handles, especially like Veronique Laurent and Jean-Louis Regal. They do like these like scrape carving kind of reliefs. So the material starts a little bit thicker than you want, and then they kind of grind down, cut away, and relieve these patterns and these shapes and contours that are kind of proud of the handle material that I think look absolutely beautiful. And again, I think it's a cool technique that can be used across various disciplines, but I think that would be one I would really be interested in learning. Yeah. Personally.
Yeah. What have you got, Jeff?
I don't know. This is a good one because, part of me is just like, I would, instead of taking a class, I'd consider going to a welding shop and seeing if I could just work there. Like, can I offer help? Because I think that if you think about your knife business more like a metal shop, you might, even like just a railing place, like even like a crummy railing place, you'll learn how to see things differently in terms of deadlines, expectations, real world, the business end of fabrication on a bigger scale. I think that's one of the I'm always surprised at how, most knife makers now who learn on the internet, a lot of them have never worked in a metal shop before, so they don't understand the ins and outs of meeting an expectation or what is expected of you as a fabricator giving something to someone. So that might be good. I do like the idea of maybe even doing a sculpture class. I like the idea of having something with deadlines. I like the idea of the carving, those wood carving classes. I like that idea, and even pottery classes. I think anything that kind of maybe helps you see things differently might be the move.
I got another one.
I'd love to do pottery, but I know that the minute I did, that would be it. That's another huge rabbit hole that I just don't have time to be sort of sticking my hand into at the moment. But yeah, it's always been one of those things where I'd love to try that,
What would be the name of your pottery company? You got Chop. We call it Chop. Mush?
No, I'll give it some thought. By the end of the show, I'll have a name for
I like Mush. Keep it 4 letters,
Toss.
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 Chop and toss.
Fucking Toss is good, too. Toss is really good. That's a good name for the fucking pottery business, Toss.
Yeah,
that's
the proud tosser.
Good one.
Yeah.
Good one.
What about what do you guys think about like machining class? Like we were just talking about Adam from Built Sharp. What about like machining and learning how to use some of those CNC machines, or even programming for CNC routers and like laser engravers and stuff like that?
Yeah. Illustrator classes. Those would be really helpful.
Yeah, I think a lot of people could, have illustrated classes would help a lot of people, actually. It's really handy, really, really handy for a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's a really good question. Wow, this is like a proper knife show this week.
I'm telling you.
We got rid of the cameras, and all of a sudden we're dialing in. It's good.
All of our clothes off.
Exactly, yeah, not just the pants. I tell you what, let me just play this quickly.
Combat Abrasives makes the world's best abrasive belts for knife makers. Available in any size at unbelievable prices. Go take a look at combatabrasives.com and get 15% off with promo code KNIFETALK15. Do it now.
15% off. You know you want to. You know you want to. Another question then, from Deer River Craftsman. How do you boys press the reset button when a bunch of stuff goes to shit in the workshop? He's asking for a friend, apparently. Always love the show. Tough situation. The AL East? I'm not quite sure what he means by that.
AL East. The AL East.
AL East. Right. Okay.
The AL
I don't know
East.
what that means either.
The AL East is that's for Alex Pohl. The AL East.
Well, what's AL East?
The AL East is this baseball part of the Major League Baseball that's going for the wild card spot for the playoffs, and Mark is a big Toronto Blue Jays fan, and they just played the Yankees, and it's been this has been crazy. The past couple of weeks have been kind of nuts, so it's almost anybody's game still. So. Really kind of exciting, but you don't give a shit about that. Just call it the AL East. It's fine. AL East. That's
means nothing to me.
The
AL
East is from like the Bahrain Baseball League. Never mind. My bad. Sorry.
Okay. How do you press the reset button when a bunch of stuff goes to shit in the workshop? I'm assuming he's, when do you call it a day and restart a job? I'm assuming that's what he's talking about. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. If it's something that you wouldn't be proud to send out, I assume, you gotta, if it can't be fixed, you need to start again. I've been through this a bunch of times in the last few months while trying new stuff. And if it's not, 100% right, start again, back to the drawing board. And I think a lot of that comes down to the sort of design process with me, where I spend a lot of time in the design process trying to make sure that I cut off any problems before I get to sort of the manufacturing side, I suppose. But yeah, it's, shit still goes wrong, and it sucks how to, especially you've got a bunch of hours invested in something, having to restart. But we all do it, I'm afraid.
I set myself up with like an easy win, or I do something like my favorite part is always the forging. And so I'll stop whatever I'm doing if I'm feeling really frustrated with a build or just keep making mistakes. I just set it down and step away from it because I know I'm either going to keep making mistakes or destroy something or whatever. So I set myself up with something I like to do, make some Damascus, give myself kind of an easy win of stuff I like to do, or just forge out a simple knife and just kind of get out of that mindset of frustration and anxiety and stress from whatever's throwing me off, and then try to come back and approach it with less of that in me. I think also especially forging out a blade, that might be a good way to to let out some of your stress and frustration just through physical exhaustion. Maybe forge a couple blades for all I care. So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I've found that sometimes where you make a mistake, you concentrate on something, you make a mistake, so then you quickly get back to that point as quick as you can, so you can get back to this bit again. But then you make a stupid mistake doing something else, and that frustration, and before you know, you sort of 3 knives in, and it's really frustrating. That's a good one. Jeff, what do you do when you're sort of hitting your head against a brick wall?
If my father was alive, he would say I walk around and Schrei Gewalt, which is Yiddish for throw yourself around. I actually had to do a friction folder to send down to Pat at the Center for Metal Arts because he wanted to take a photograph for the show, for the class. And I gave myself a couple days, and they weren't coming out as, when you're doing something for the Center for Metal Arts, you just can't, shoot one off of the wrist. So I was like doing one after the other, and I'd see something. I was just like, oh God, I can't send that one, and I can't send that one. They're going to see that. I can't do that. And I was just doing them over and over, and I was getting frustrated. And I was like, God, I'm just wasting this time, and I should know better. And why am I? And it got really debilitating. And I had to just be like, all right, fine. I gave up. I said I'm gonna come back at it at a different angle, but at the same time, until I got back into the shop, I was just like beating the shit out of myself, and it was really like, I've gotten to that point where it's like, it's so hard. You're so hard on yourself. And it's like, God, I just wasted that money, or I wasted that time. I could have been home instead of doing this. And it's hard, man. I think you just need to like knuckle up, and it's better to walk away. But it's just so tempting to be like, I bet I can save it. I bet I can bring it back. And next thing you know, you're just like, another hour's passed, and you're just like, fuck, I should have left an hour ago.
You know, or sometimes you get that thought of like, there's no way this is going to beat me. I'm going to keep going.
Right.
But you keep making more and more mistakes, and just like,
Right.
You're right. You just need to back off and do something else for a bit. Yeah.
One thing for me is with the knives I make for Fader Knives is I've really kind of gotten every stage to the point where I don't find myself in these problems.
Can you just go back a sec? Which you make for Fader Knives? It sounded like for Fader Knives Inc.
I got
you take on a member of staff, and all of a sudden it's a different entity now. Now it's
I got a business partner. Tony's my business partner. It's not just mine. I got fucking thing. I got fucking. I mean, what am I going to call him? I mean, I can't, I got to be mindful. There are people here. I'm not. This is a group effort. Craig.
Fader Knives Inc.
This ain't mush pottery or fucking toss pottery. This is some fucking thing, man. And I don't even know what I was saying. I don't even know. You fucking derailed me. I don't even know what I was talking about.
You were pushing Fader Knives Inc.
LLC. I don't know. I have no idea. To be honest with you, I'm all fucking verklempt. I have no idea. But it's just that I've cut down all the processes, so it really is. I always know where I'm at every stage. So there's these stopping points put me in a position where it's hard to go over the what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I'm always coming in where I'm supposed to be at, and I'm not like making giant errors because I'm doing things over and over again, and they have very specific stopping points.
Yeah, right.
There you go. Fader Knives Inc. It's LLC. Goddamn, man! Don't forget. All right.
I was going to give you the playoff music then, just for promoting your company one more time.
I deserve it. Throw me out.
It's fine. Okay, listener feedback. What have we got?
Well, here's your choice on listener. You can talk. I can regularly listener feedback, or in regards to this live versus not live.
Let's do the live versus not live, but not dwell on it too long, maybe.
I'll read a few and we'll see how it goes. This one's anonymous just because there's no need for problems. Just listen to the show. In regards to live show versus non-live, here's my opinion. I don't hear a difference in the audio quality, if that's what you're talking about. I also don't think the live audience adds anything to the show. If anything, it's a little annoying because it's the same dudes chiming in. Just my 2 cents. I'll listen either way.
He's dissing our listeners.
That's why, that's why I anonymous him.
But they're not wrong though.
WCSBR Forge, that's our buddy Wesley, says, "Hey guys, quick question: does it affect your numbers if I watch the video on YouTube and not download it on Spotify? I tend to do both. I watch when I can and then listen when I can't. Audio sounds great on the audio only version. I can't tell a difference between them, really. Does it make a difference?"
Well, it does, but I mean, we have such little numbers who are watching anyway. That is, it's such a small. It's 1 or 2%. It's nothing. Yes, it's nothing worth worrying about. But I'm surprised people are saying that they couldn't tell the difference with the audio.
Me too.
Because,
it's like
I can tell a huge difference.
It's shocking.
It's painful at times.
Shocking to me, and it's because from my end, because I can't have lights on in my car because I'll turn it into a hot box. It's like I have to be in the middle of the show, and then I hear my own echo. So then all of a sudden I'm just like, it gets me tight. Samuel Fleet.
So you're back in the truck?
I'm in the truck right now. I'm much more comfortable now. It's getting cooler too. It's great. But I get the best audio out of here because I'm kind of containing. There's no echo.
Yeah.
Samuel Fleetwood says, "Hey guys, first off, amazing show. No need to reply to my comment. I listen to my tiny shop on Mondays, and I do appreciate the live aspect. Things come up that otherwise wouldn't, and it's fun to hear about Greg's balls and ongoing comments from the chat as well. That's my vote. Thanks for the effort. Cheers from Switzerland."
Who's Greg?
He wrote Greg, and that's what I wrote. I said, "Who the fuck is Greg?" And he goes, "Oh, I mean Craig." I thought he meant Jeff, to be honest with you, because everyone, George. I'll read you a couple more. J.D. Eiler says, "Listener feedback for the audio only. I keep the live show. I haven't noticed any drop in quality, except maybe on the last episode, Mareko came through a little choppy. But even then, it wasn't that bad. Love getting to hear all the little quips, and I think you're all reacting to live stuff is great." And then I'll read this last one just because it's like, Buster Cooey says, "Since you asked for our thoughts on the live, the sound quality seems close between the two formats on my speakers. Downside of the live, I don't watch the live. When I'm listening the next week and someone comments, it grabs your attention and seems to interrupt the flow of the conversation." I agree with that. "Sometimes for a funny bit, but most of the time it's just a distract. Plus, if the three of you are reading comments, you're not fully invested in the conversation." I agree with that too. "The week before, it seemed like Craig and Jeff were more engaged with the distractions of the comments. Are the numbers of people attending the live more than listening during the week? If it's close to that, continue live. But it's a small percentage. I'd suggest only a special 2 to 3 times a year. Just my 2 cents. I'm glad there are 3 of you are still making the time. Thanks for the entertainment."
Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned a special. Because I was thinking, what if we did like a first Friday or something like that? But maybe that's even too frequent.
I like the idea of doing something special. I love the idea of us doing little changes every so often because it is good to kind of like liven things up a bit. I do get tight when I see comments and maybe I don't like them very much. I remember stopping at one point to address it, and I thought to myself afterwards, I really shouldn't have, because it makes it harder to understand if you're listening on Monday, because you have to set this stuff up. There's a lot of podcasts that don't set anything up, so you're just like, what did that mean? I don't understand what that meant. So I'm on the fence. Yeah. And then
I think we will. I think we will go back to it, but at the moment,
once in a while,
once in a while, and for specials. This all started when we did that Dharma Steel Chef Invitational last year, because we hadn't done video really until then. Certainly not the way we were doing it with live comments and all the rest of it. And that show was fucking brilliant. Yeah. But I think mainly because we had a bunch of makers who were actually physically coming in as well. Into the sort of booth that we had, so we could see them, and there was really good interaction that way. So that sort of kickstarted it. But there is another one coming up. So when we're talking about going back to video for specials, I think we'll certainly do it again for Dharma Steel. So that November the 13th is the Chef Invitational. They are now actually we've got a link here which I'll put in the show notes. People can now register to attend. So I'll put that link in the show notes here. So however you're listening to this show, look in the show notes. There'll be a link. You can register to be part of the Dharma Steel Chef Invitational. We'll be doing a live show, so you can join us. There'll be video. They have a bunch of amazing makers who all have their own sort of booths where it's basically a virtual knife show. You can go in, you can speak to the maker, you can see their work, that kind of thing. But they'll be dropping in to see us as well during that show. And if it was anything like last year, it was lots and lots of fun. We spoke to some really, really cool people. We saw some amazing work. So if you're not there, you're going to be missing out. So November the 13th, there's a link in the show notes. Register yourself. You'll get an update email then, to let you know when they're going live, that kind of thing. And don't miss out on the fun. It's a really good day.
And this message is for our Italian friend, Alfredo. You better come on this time. I'm telling you. Yes. You didn't want to come on the last time, and you're coming on this time. So that's it.
Okay, shall we do maybe a couple more questions?
You got tough scenarios too. Whatever you want.
Let's do one more question, then go back to tough scenarios maybe. Do you want to take the next one, Jeff?
Yes, I do want to take the next one. Direct Metalwork says, a customer emailed me and said that he used my Damascus chef knife to, quote, chop a T-bone to test the edge and fuck the edge up and wants a refund. What orifice do you suggest I tell him to shove it up? Thanks.
Urethra. Shove it up your urethra.
Jesus Christ.
That's some fucking
knife
Sitting uncomfortably. Yeah, I suppose he's not educated enough, is he? This customer. To, if you're using a fine chef knife to cut through bone like that, it's the wrong knife, and he should really know that. So,
somebody watched Fortune 5 too many times.
No, if he's admitted to that's what he's done, no. I personally, I wouldn't. Would you?
Well, I mean, I got a hard time with conflict. It would be like, I don't know, man. I heard a story. I don't know if we told it or we heard it from somewhere. Somebody went to a knife conference.
This is Michael J. Fox. Visit our website for more resources and to learn how you play a part in speeding a cure at michaeljfox.org. The Michael J. Fox Foundation. Here until Parkinson's isn't.
Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection? It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now enjoy a large iced coffee for just $2. Add a breakfast sandwich to make a meal. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
And then they turned their back, and somebody took one of the knives off the table and just used it to chop a tree and fucked the whole thing up. Brought it back and fucked the whole thing up. And it was like, all of a sudden I turned my back and the knife is fucking totally fucked up. I don't know why people have to test things all the time. It's just like...
Yeah, I'm changing my mind as you're saying that, because I'm just rereading this, actually, and it says, and he fucked the edge up. So he did, I was imagining it fucking snapped or something, It didn't. He just fucked the edge up. So, yeah, I'd say send it in, you silly bugger, and I'll fix the edge on it. But yeah, sorry, I thought he'd actually broken the knife. But no, he's obviously just dinged the edge. So yeah, I'd fix it and just tell him how
But it sounds like this guy wants a refund.
You give
him a refund?
No way. I'd fix it and tell him he's stupid, but I wouldn't give him a refund. No way.
I'll fix it for you, you stupid fucker.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd love for you to say that to a customer.
Oh, God. But then you got this person in your life. Then you know that the next problem is he's going to call you again.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? These difficult people stay difficult. They don't they start off difficult and they stay difficult the whole time.
I like
it's
that.
true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we know a guy will creep into my DMs, send me a million questions, and then I answer them all, and then they don't buy anything, and then all of a sudden they're nickel and diming me, and then they're nickel and diming. I had one guy try to use Knife Talk 10 to buy a knife. And it was like, Tony's like, what do you do about this? What do you do about this? And it was like, the guy was, everybody, it's like, you're difficult in the beginning, you're going to stay difficult to the end. It's just, there's no way about it. So it's like, maybe you want to get this guy out of your life. Or if you don't care, if you don't mind a little conflict, I get like, I'm a fucking mess. I can't handle major conflict. I internalize it very, very badly. So I would probably tell Tony, get him out of our lives. I've returned years ago. A guy was difficult in the beginning, difficult to the end. Got the knife, decided he didn't like it for whatever reason, and want a refund. I said, give me the knife back. I don't want you in my life. I'll give you everything back except for the shipping.
Yeah. I had one maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It was a chef knife. He seemed very happy with it. about 3 weeks later, he then replied saying, "Well, I'm holding this blade down, and I can see sort of daylight on the straight part of the cutting edge, where it's not straight, so it's not cutting all the way through stuff." And I'm like, "Well, how have you been sharpening it?" And he showed me this steel, which was like rough as fuck, and he'd clearly been the edge was just chewed to bits. I'm like, "Well, that's the problem." Anyway, we were talking. I said, "Okay, fine." I said, "Send it back to me. I'll give you a refund now and send it back to me." And he never did send it back. And, I didn't chase him up on it. But then, like 2 years later, I was following him on Instagram, and about 2 years later, he's got this picture of this, and he's still using this knife. And I'm thinking, that fucker, he had a full refund on that, and he didn't send it back. God. He's still using it.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
You gave him a refund, he didn't send it back?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I didn't chase up on it because I was like, "Well, it's dead now anyway," But he was still using it, and I was thinking, "What
a garbage human being." We don't know that guy. I don't know that guy, do I?
No. He was a friend of a family member, actually, which is why it was all a bit awkward.
Dude.
Yeah.
Bad move. Well, listen, I mean, he has to live with himself being that fucking stupid. So at least you're not there.
True.
I don't think. True. Clearly, when you're an asshole in the beginning, you're an asshole in the end too. So I'm sure he sleeps perfectly fine.
Yeah. What are you doing, Mareko? Are you giving this guy his money back? Are you fixing it? What are you doing?
So I've talked about my terms of use a few times before in the past, and it is actually in our terms of use that if the knife is used outside of normal wear and tear and use, like chopping a fucking bone, which a chef's knife is not designed for, then they do not get a refund. I might fix it, but they're not getting a refund. There's no way.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, fully agree.
Good for
terms
you.
of use.
Terms of use.
And what's great about the terms of use is it's in there and it's part of that contract, but I can also pick and choose and decide if I really want to adhere to that or make exceptions here and there. But the purpose of them is so that my ass is covered for dum-dums like this guy.
It gets me so tight when I hear stuff like that. It's just so annoying. They never, I still to this day, I sold a Damascus knife, and I explained to him about the use, and I explained to him what's going to happen, and it's carbon steel, and he's like, I know. And I get a message saying, "Hey, is this supposed to change color?" I'm like, "Motherfucker, don't you remember me talking about this?" They don't listen. People just don't listen.
I've got a very similar story, and it was actually a MasterChef UK winner here on the TV. He was MasterChef UK, but he was from the same town as me, and I knew him. And his girlfriend, they're married now, but his girlfriend bought one of my knives for him for Christmas, so he didn't know about it. And she wanted a carbon steel knife. I was like, fine. So about a week after, then I get an email from him saying, "Is it meant to rust? I put it in the dishwasher. Is it meant to rust?"
Oh my God.
Fuck.
Is it meant to rust?
So yeah, people don't know, I suppose. And since then, I actually, actually it's taken down from my website now because it's the newer design. But I did have a video explaining the difference between the two. And when anybody come to the the selection of what kind of knife you want, there was always a link to this video, so you were aware of the difference between a stainless and a high carbon knife. Maybe I should put that video back up actually, but yeah, it just goes to show people don't really know. We know because it's part of what we do every day, but most chefs don't.
But are you surprised? Most people don't listen at all to anything anyway. I mean, in general. People don't listen to their doctors. That's a fact. People don't listen to their doctors. Yeah. And they don't listen to any. Nobody wants to listen to authority. They just want to do their thing. And then, it's like LL Bean. My dad used to love LL Bean, this company in the United States up in Maine, sell the the boots and stuff. And if something was wrong, you send it back, no questions asked. We used to send back the same goddamn shoes every year. It was just because it was let's get a new pair, send them back. And it's you just there's sometimes people just want what they want, and they just got relatively unreasonable.
Yeah. And they won't, listen to advice. No. But I've got advice for all of our listeners here. If you are hand sanding blades, which most of you are, you're going to want to use the best paper you can actually use, sandpaper you can find. And that's from Indasa. That's Rhino Wet. It's what I use. Jeff uses it. Mareko uses it. Everybody uses Rhino Wet. It's the best stuff. It's made by Indasa, but we can get you a discount. If you go to texasfarriersupply.com, you can get 10% off any Rhino Wet, and they've got all the different grits that you could possibly need, but not just the Rhino Wet, but also just lots of other stuff for knife makers too. They've got a whole section there of stuff that you need as a knife maker. So head on over to texasfarriersupply.com, see what they've got, fill up your basket, and use Knife Talk 10 and get yourself that juicy discount.
Can I offer a follow-up tip for hand sanding that I've started doing?
Go ahead.
All right, this is a real knife show today.
It really is.
So lately, I've been using. So I do my normal scrubbing with my sandpaper, but when I do the final strokes, so I'm using my hand sanding stick that has kind of a dense rubber backer, kind of a gasket material. But then what I've started doing after that is, and you can find this felt stuff at like the Dollar Tree or the hardware store, but you usually put it like on the bottom of the feet of like furniture and stuff so they don't scratch the wooden floors. But it has that little bit of give, so you're not using a hard backing, and then attach the sandpaper on top of that. And because it has that little bit of give, especially for Damascus, I've been finding this makes a big difference in how well the coffee etch comes out. But you then, after doing the hard backing pull strokes, you use the soft backing and pull strokes, and that way you're not burnishing any of the surface, and you have fresh, clean cuts in the surface of your blade. And it's super counterintuitive, but the fresher the cuts, the cleaner the cuts, instead of burnished surface, you will get a better contrast. And I've been using those felt backings for the final strokes on my blades before I put them into the ferric and then the coffee for the coffee etch and all that stuff. And it has been a huge game changer for me.
And when you say burnish, you mean closer to like almost a mirror finished kind of, right?
Yeah, exactly. And which is a finish you can achieve if you go through the progression up to like 2,000 or 4,000 or whatever grit. But I've been finding on my Damascus that if you take maybe like a 600 grit and you're scrubbing it, and like the first few scrubs you can feel it cutting, but then it's not necessarily cutting as nicely like 5 or 6 strokes in, but you're still going at it. You're starting to close up that surface, and there's something about which is the burnishing action. And so when you close up that surface for whatever reason, especially the 15 and 20, when it's broader portions or broader lines, it'll stain, it'll pick up the coloration of the ferric or the coffee rather than a fresh cut. It seems like you would want to polish it really high gloss, but in my experience, I've been finding that a fresh, clean cut gets a better contrast.
Damn, we're never going to do a live show again. Fucking good. This is a fucking good one, dudes. Fucking Monday, baby. All you Friday guys, you're out. This is Monday time.
Yeah. Okay, let's do a tricky situation. What was it we called?
Tough scenarios.
Tough scenarios.
Answered honestly and not phony. All right. This one's intense. This one comes from our friend Rock Durant. Great name. Rock Durant. We're with you, Rock. Here's a tough scenario. Your girlfriend's parents were really disrespectful to you, to the point where you won't even go over to their house anymore. And your girl...
That's daily. That's daily for me. Oh, sorry, my wife. Sorry. She may be listening.
And your girlfriend agrees that it's way out of hand, as you and respect your decision that you don't go, that you're not going to go. But you can tell that it's tearing her up inside. Do you go over and play nice, or do you stand your ground? That's a tough one, dude.
I feel like that's on her parents.
Well, of course, but you can't control other people's actions. Her parents aren't nice. They're not nice to him.
What's key here is this is girlfriend, not wife. So we're talking early stages here at the moment.
Watch out, Rock.
Still want...
Watch out, Rock. You're going to get some advice
Relationship
you might not want to hear right now.
If this is early stages relationship, you're going to do anything it takes, really, aren't you? You're going to do whatever it takes. So So bite that lip, and knowing that you're going to get rewarded for it later.
I thought you were going to say cut her loose. I thought that's what that was. I thought that was the cut. It's early in the relationship, cut her loose.
No. The opposite. Yeah.
What do you think, Mareko?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would probably... I don't know. I've never had that situation. It's hard to think about. Everybody's always loved me.
Oh, look at you. See, Rock, that's what you got to be lovable. That's the answer, is you got to be more lovable, Rock. You got to be like Mareko. You like be lovable. My father told me when I was younger that you marry the woman, not their family. And he did not get along with my mother's family. He just kind of he did not get along with him. But he was also married 4 times. So his marriage advice, his marriage advice, I was just like, yo, don't talk to me about track records there, Mario Andretti. This shit isn't happening right now.
That's Ross from Friends.
Yeah, I mean, it was just come on. You're going to give me, at this point, I should be giving you marriage advice. So I do kind of tend to believe that you marry the person that you're with, but at the same time, I have a problem. I'm probably too much of a pleaser, so I'm probably going to try to get in there and be the bigger person and try to do right by my girl and let her know that you care about her feelings, and I would probably try to win them over, send them something, send them a fruit basket or something like that, and say, "Love, here has a couple bananas for the tailpipe." Okay, next one comes from North Mountain Knives. You order something shipped to you. It gets lost in the mail. You contact the company who sends you a replacement. Then weeks later, the first package arrives. Do you keep it and hope no one notices, or what? So you order something, it doesn't arrive. You call them up, it didn't arrive. They send you another one. And then the first one arrives. Now you got 2 of the same thing. Do you call them up and tell them?
I think it depends on the size of the company. If it's a little mom and pop place, I'm sending it back. But if it's a massive place, I don't know. Part of me feels like that's on them.
It's a difficult one, because this is something that I go through a lot, because shipping here is the worst thing possible. And I find myself in that situation a lot as well, having to resend orders, or sometimes they'll say, "No, I've got it now, it's fine." And yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that everybody would answer with, "I'd send it back," but I know for a fact people don't. But when it comes to me, I'd probably be in the same line as Mareko, but which is wrong, because who's to know? Just because a company is huge doesn't mean that it's it's doing well. And particularly at the moment, we're seeing these huge companies all going under and so on. But my gut instinct is like Mareko. If it's a maker of a small company, you would tell them. If it's a huge company, if it's Amazon, for example, you can be like, "Oh, fuck those guys," But whether that's right or not, I don't know. It's not right, but that's the way I'd go with it.
I've had accidentals where I'll get an extra, and then I'll call them up and say, "Hey, by the way, you sent me an extra something or other." And a lot of times they'll just say, "I just keep it. It's okay." Obviously, we're not talking about a Tesla or something like that. But, I mean, we're talking about something small. I tend to think honesty is the best policy. I had a customer once years ago when I was making those fabricated steel roses for Valentine's Day. I went on a fucking rampage and made those, you know what I'm talking about, those bullshit steel roses that, I mean, sorry everybody, and those steel roses that you're going to conk your Valentine over the head with.
I love
that was some marketing speak we used to sell those things.
I was making them shits back to 10, 15 years ago, and they're just they're the most unromantic thing of all time. P.S. I mean, it's give your wife a blackjack, for Christ's sakes. It's like giving someone a baseball bat as a love note. It's a steel rose. They're so unromantic. I'm sorry, everybody, but come on, let's be clear. Those fucking things are like giving your wife a mace. I mean, what the fuck are you going to do with that thing?
Is that a kind of rose you hold on to when you're floating to the bottom of the river with
It's the one, yeah, it's the one you use to conquer a robber in your house with. Get me my rose. Get me my beautiful rose. I'm going to knock someone's head off. So I was making those, and take it easy, everybody who makes steel roses. I know you're all like, wait a second. I do that all the time to relax. I was just making a joke. And I remember sending one to this guy for Valentine's Day, and he says, didn't arrive. This is important. I was like, I'll send you another one. I overnighted him a second one because obviously, everyone gets hot for Valentine's Day. And he said, weeks later, it arrived. The first one arrived, and I was like, and he's just, I just keep it. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck this guy for fucking keeping it. He should have sent it back. It was just like he never said a word. He kind of said a word. Oh yeah, the first one arrived. Oh, I'll give it to my next girlfriend. I'm like, asswipe. So, Jesus. Here's a couple more. I have one more. I have a couple more dilemmas or whatever you guys want to do. Here's a dilemma from Pickle Cutters. The dilemma is waking up and being your own boss. That's the dilemma.
Pickle Cutters.
Yeah, it's Pickle Cutters. Come on, man. Pickle Cutters.
Is that like a weird term for like buttholes?
No.
That just derailed the show.
No, yeah. You got a fucking...
the pickle cutter.
You fucking got a good one. That's the best laugh we've gotten out of Craig in a long time. Congratulations, Mareko. You did a good job. Pickle Cutters, it wasn't me, man. I'm with you 100%. This next one comes from Mackenzie. Mackenzie, here's the moral dilemma submission. Let's say you're selling a knife for a sizable amount of money and a customer is buying the knife, but you know... Why are you still laughing?
That's okay. Carry on.
Let's say you're selling a knife for a sizable amount of money. A customer is buying the knife, but you know they're doing so without being financially reasonable for themselves. Example, that they're compromising their ability to pay their mortgage, or they took out a loan from a small loan shark to be able to afford it. Do you follow through with this sale? Thanks, guys, for awesome work. Back to the grinder so I can hand sand before the live show. No live show this week, sorry, Mackenzie. So, if you think someone really shouldn't be affording your knife and they are making a huge mistake, do you talk them out of it?
I mean, how would you know? That's the main thing. I mean, if you know them that personally, and that was the case, yeah, you could have a word with them. But they're generally not selling knives to people we know personally, because that market runs out very, very quickly. So you wouldn't know. But that does bring up a point, actually. It's something that I've been considering. So with most website companies that you use, whoever you're using to host your website, they all have a payment provider, whether it's PayPal or Stripe or that kind of thing. A lot of them now are offering these pay in 3 installments or 4 installments kinds of things.
So it's like a micro loan.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And, you don't have to do anything, the owner of the website, it's just another sort of payment provider. And that's something I've been considering, actually, just sticking one of them on the site, because then if people do want it, they can, they pay over maybe 3 or 4 months, but they get immediately. So I get the full amount immediately, they get the knife immediately, and then there's a credit agreement agreed with, this third party.
The middle person. Right.
Yeah, and it's quite common here in France as well, for a lot of things. So I'm considering actually just sticking that on the website, for that purpose. But
that's interesting.
Yeah, you don't really, 99.9% of my customers, I have no idea who they are, let alone their sort of financial history. So
yeah, but this is like, this guy knows this guy shouldn't be doing this.
If you know they shouldn't, I mean, yeah, I personally would have a word and say, are you sure this is what you want to be doing? You know, if you know them that personally. Yeah, I can't ever see that situation happening, but if I did know them and I knew they were struggling financially, yeah, I'd certainly say to them, let's not do this kind of thing. Yeah.
Honor Kaglar does a layaway. He said recently, and obviously dies in every film, he's the best. He's a good dude, and he was saying he's like, look, I've had people drop out because they don't have the money. Like they order the knife, and then all of a sudden like they come to pay, and then they're just like, oh, sorry, dude, I don't have the money. And he says, you know what? I'll give you a payment plan. That's fine. I'll hold it as a payment plan. I don't mind. I'd rather you have the knife and whatever than just like do that. And he's a good dude. I think there is something to be said about the fact that some things are too expensive and you get in a fever and you're just like blah, blah, blah. One of the things that I wanted to know if you guys would ever do is, have you ever been to a bar or out drinking with someone and yeah, right. And then the person you're with shouldn't be drinking anymore, and then they go to the bathroom and then you tell the bartender to not serve them anymore?
I've definitely
done that.
No.
You have?
Never done that.
Yeah.
And what was the response?
The bartender agreed, and I convinced the friend that we should go somewhere else, and usually that somewhere else is a late night diner where we get some food and then we call it a night.
Not recently, a number of years ago, my friend and I were out, and another friend of ours showed up, another person we knew, and we knew that he had driven there, and he just started to. He's one of these guys that you get a couple drinks in him, and they're clearly bombed. And he went to the bathroom, and we told the bartender, I'm like, yo, listen, don't serve this dude anymore. And he goes, okay. I was like, because this dude's got to drive home. He's a mess. Don't serve him anymore. Guy comes down, back from the bathroom. He says, okay, I'll have another one. And the bartender's like, okay, here you go. It was like, I thought we had a fucking thing. I'm looking at the bartender like, wait, remember that time I told you not to serve him anymore? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Remember that time 10 seconds ago?
Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? He was talking to me, wasn't he? So, there's that.
So wait. Yeah, sorry. I'd if I knew them personally, I would say something, but the chances are I don't know them personally, so I wouldn't say anything because I wouldn't know.
I got one more from, if you want to keep going, we got one from Matt Burchett. Matt Burchett says, would you rather make 50% more money per year doing the exact same work that you are doing now, except you have to watch every knife you make get smashed in a hydraulic press, or make 25% less and ship the items out per normal? Thanks for the great show.
Craig's answer is yes. 50%.
We should start fucking answering for each other. I thought about that. Like, we should be saying, what would each other say? That's the next part of the evolution of this bit. Yeah. Craig would say yes.
So you either work as you are now for 25% less,
right,
or take a 50%
increase, and then every knife gets smashed in front of your eyes.
What world are these people in?
I mean, they're
what are they thinking?
Listen, can I just tell you something about the majority of the question of the dilemmas we get are not good. And it's like, if I get one that's knife related and it's not sex related, it's not sex related. It's not like, something about our wives or our, or whatever.
Oh,
I'm going to take the knife getting crushed in the hydraulic press every single time, because at least it's normal.
Yeah. And with regards to the answer, yes, I'm also going to take the 50% increase and watch each knife get destroyed.
Mareko wins. Mareko wins.
Who's doing it? It's like some Bond villain destroying these knives as if for us. What's the scenario? Yeah. I've expected you, Mr. Lockwood. Have you brought your knives?
I mean, it's really along the lines of, I think the question comes from how connected are we to our work. That's really what most of these questions revolve around, because I think most of the listeners are not really in, like business, where it's more like this is kind of new, and then you have more of a feeling of connection with the work that you're doing, and you want it to go to a certain person, and you want it to be used a certain way, and you want this to be like this magnanimous situation where, so it's just the question of how much do you feel about the work that you're doing, and are you willing to is the money more important than your artistic expression?
Sure.
Well, I still get to make stuff. I don't have to deal with customers, and I get 50% more. This is like the ideal situation. This isn't like a Sophie's choice. This is the dream.
Sure. I mean, I'm with Craig. I would take the pay increase, and I think the value I take from the work I make is actually in the process of making it and the lessons I learn along the way. For each one, I finish it and I send it out, and for all I know, they're getting destroyed anyways by some dum-dum smashing it into fucking T-bone steak or something. So yeah, I'd be happy to watch that. I'd be just fine. I follow the hydraulic press channel on Instagram where they're smashing all kinds of ridiculous stuff. And 3 posts back, I just pulled it up. They were smashing what looked to be like 50 to 100 bearing rings, and it is devastating what they're doing. It's just it's horrifying. Good thing they're behind like shatterproof like Lexane glass or something like that, because holy shit. I can't, just like the velocity at which like that steel is shooting everywhere, just shrapnel. It's nuts. Anyways, Jeff, are you taking it?
I take the money, and then I would also take the crushed knives, and then I'd make sculpture with the crushed knives.
Of course
there you
go.
Double money. I got to
wait. I thought you hated reclaimed.
Yeah, but if
metal
I'm
sculpture
crushing
art.
it, if I made it from the beginning and then I'm crushing it, then I'm not reclaiming it. I'm like adding to it. It's adding to the whole thing. It's not really reclaimed. Just another process. It's like acid etching, or it's like coffee etching, except for under the hydraulic press. I had when I was in college, the sculptors got together and were just like, look, there are a lot of classes that would be perfectly happy taking a sculpture over a paper. And we realized that the teachers would love it if we did these like off the, out of the box, reports. So all the welders, we would all like make these fast sculptures to, I was in this Japanese history class and made this bullshit sword. And, I was in this biology class, and I made this sculpture about biology. I was cutting stuff with the plasma cutter, welding it all up, and they're doing the welding voodoo. And it was like, I had one friend of mine who made a sculpture for like an English class. This is all, we're all seniors, so we're just trying to just get past the end, and she made a sculpture for an art class. Then she used it for another class. And she almost got it. So basically, she's double up. And basically what I was saying, I'm going to crush the knife under the hydraulic press, and I'm going to turn it into a sculpture. She almost got suspended because there was a policy about not submitting the same paper or project for 2 classes. And we had to do everything we could to make sure she graduated. This is like a month before graduation. And it was like we had to pull all the stops out because you can't double dip. And I never forgot that. Well, there you go.
I think that's a show. I'll tell you what we haven't done. We've talked about the Broadbeck grinders and the different arms and all that kind of stuff and the platens, but we didn't talk about their current deal at the moment. So they've got a deal, haven't they? If you use Knife Talk as a promo code at broadbeckironworks.com, you will get the DP platen free. And is that right?
Yeah,
I think that's the upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah, the
you
upgrade.
Get the upgrade pack. Right. Okay, cool. Just making sure our sponsors are happy.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a show? Do you think that's a show?
Yeah, why not? We had a good one.
Should we? Yeah, it was a good one. That was very informative, too.
Kidding me?
Jeez. Actually learned some shit. Wow. Right. Thank you all for listening. And this is the 5th incarnation of the Knife Talk podcast. audio rules.
Contact us via DM at Knife Talk Podcast.
Not necessarily it rules. Oh, geez.
This show is brought to you by The Makery, the podcast network for makers.
That's funny.
That was a genuine slip then.
That was funny. I really believe if we're not really concentrating on other people, it's a different dynamic.
Sure.
I agree. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And there's no weird audio slips and stuff like that. I listened to something this week, and I have to tell you, and it's totally my own narcissism for telling you this, but that's just the way it is. Howard Stern interviewed Mick Jagger. And it was like two of my worlds colliding. And it was a big setup, big turnaround and everything like that. And it was this very interesting part of having an interview, because Mick has been elusive to Howard for like 30, 40 years. And he finally gets him, but he only gets 40 minutes with him. And it was a really good interview, except for the fact they made him leave. Like they said, all right, Mick's got to go. And you could hear this depression, because Howard was like, I'll never get him again. And I didn't get the questions I wanted. And you heard this it was really an intense, after the interview, depression. Really interesting. So.
Oh, right. Okay. That was it. Okay.
All right. So that was all I had to say. So there you go.
I know how Howard feels now. Yeah.
But it was interesting in terms of like interviewing, because when we interview people, you have to establish a degree of chemistry, and you don't, especially if you have a short amount of time. I mean, that's why I go to almost 2 hours with full blast, because I'm trying to like establish chemistry to get some good audio, and it was just interesting to me for that. I brought it up for no reason other than.
Yeah,
it was like.
But I can imagine these, sort of rock stars that they do sort of the rounds of all the, all the different media and all the different press. And I bet, they're being told you got like 8 minutes with this one person, and they're never going to develop any sort of relationship. So I bet they're just getting fired the same questions all the time, and it's just like.
It was Mick. Mick doesn't do interviews, and they've been working on getting him in on the Howard show forever, and it was really. It was a very interesting. It was an interesting interview, but it was more interesting about how you do an interview, and then the expectations, and having that was his Moby Dick of interviews. That's the white whale and then it didn't go the way he wanted it to, and it was just like kind of more interesting in regards to like how an interviewer interviews. But
yeah,
I got a question for you regarding Howard Stern, Jeff. How did you feel? He was on America's Got Talent as a judge, right?
Yeah.
Did you watch any of those? How did you feel about him doing that? Did you feel like he was kind of selling out, or did you have any weird feelings about? Because you admire and respect and revere him, and then he does this fucking silly ass show where all these goofballs are on stage. Some people are doing great stuff, but others are doing some wacky ass shit.
That's a great question. And it's something that, he's been doing radio for over 40 years. Like, I remember hearing him when I was like 7 in the car, his first week in New York. And he changed. And one of the things that he changed, because he couldn't just do strippers throwing baloney at strippers' asses all the time, because it was preventing him from getting certain guests. Like now, the guests he has gotten have been totally insane. He is one of the best interviewers around. And what he did was he made a change a number of years ago where he has now this almost like this executive producer above executive producers that helped kind of like change his. They tried to make The Office more, from what I've read, her name is Marcy Turk, and she basically is the go-between between his whole staff and Howard, and then they wanted him to be a little bit more likable, so he could get more, good interviews. So the America's Got Talent was trying to like soften his image, and also as you age, you change. You're not just going to do like strippers and strippers for the rest, porn stars for the rest of your life. So
boring.
It was a calculated. It was a calculate. What'd you say?
I said boring.
I know, but it was a calculated decision, and I think that I don't give a shit about those shows, but now, the caliber of guests he gets are, they're the best. He gets the best guests.
I guess I didn't really think about it from like that branding standpoint. It helps broaden his likability,
right?
Which also like you're saying, creates more opportunities for varied guests rather than the same old shit he's been doing for years.
It's, all these shows, they need to change to a certain degree.
Sure.
The funny thing is like people don't like change, and they say, "Oh, you've changed," or when Artie left, you changed, or when Jackie left, you changed. And when you grow and you're doing it for 40 years, you would hope that someone would change. And it's interesting how now this last interview was fucking Mick Jagger. It was like it's a lot different from throwing baloney on a stripper.
I'll tell you what I watched last night, actually. The latest, there's been a bunch of them over the last couple of months, the latest Britney Spears documentary. So it was Britney versus Spears, this Netflix special thing, and it was, I think it's only come on this week. And it was talking about her conservatorship and all the rest of it, everything that's happened over the last 15 years. It is bonkers, absolutely crazy what her dad was getting away with. Mental.
Like what?
Absolutely mental. Just
like what?
It's well worth a watch. Well, have you not known the story of what happened?
It's a little bit too hard to hear. It's just like she seems like she really has. She's got mental illness. No.
Well, so, maybe, 12, 13 years ago, that's all we were seeing in all the media, how Britney's losing it and all the rest of it. But this was all being supplied by her family to the media, really, like her, the people around her, because they had this aim to get full control. So by breaking her down, and she divorced, and she had kids, and she lost custody over them for a while and stuff. So she is on the edge, as you would be. But yeah, her dad fought for this conservatorship, and it's conservatorship of the person and of the estate. So he basically became her. She couldn't make a decision. She couldn't go. She couldn't leave the house. She couldn't have a credit card. She couldn't phone people. She couldn't email people. She had nothing. He made every single decision for her, and that's a court order. And how it went on for so many years, to the point where they were lying to the court. They're saying that she had early onset dementia and all these things. So, it's crazy. So they had to keep control over her. But they were still putting it out working. She's still doing world tours. So she was getting, I think they said she was getting $8,000 a month of money for herself. All the rest of the money was going to her dad, who was making tens of millions every month. And she's the one doing the work. And it is mental. And obviously this week has been a big change because her dad has now lost that, that role. But yeah, it's a massive eye opener. You just think, Jesus Christ.
Where's this documentary on?
On Netflix. It's called Britney versus Spears. Jeez. It's incredible. It's unbelievable. Like the literal word of incredible. You just don't believe what you're watching. It's crazy. Yeah.
And your friend, the Tiger King's coming back.
Apparently so. Yes, but I think he's in prison, isn't he?
I don't know. This is your show.
Yeah, I don't know what they're
The interesting thing is I heard somebody, I think it was Barstool Sports, was saying that the only reason why anybody watched this because we were stuck at home and there was nothing else to watch during pandemic. That is there. Everybody knows that was a terrible show. It was
I never
awful.
watched it.
And for some reason it created this, it was just like this, we're stuck at home and this is what we're going to fucking watch is goddamn Tiger King. It's not going to have the same, whatchamacallit as the first one, I don't think.
Yeah, it had that incredible first maybe 3 episodes, and by that time you were hooked into it because the first 3 were just absolutely bonkers. And from that point, you're like, well, I got to watch the end now, kind of thing, But the morning show is back on as well. Started last week, which is incredible. Yeah. So
they have some other cool series on there that look really interesting, like the Foundation series looks really good.
Yeah, I haven't seen any, but I've heard good things. But everything on there is brilliant on Apple TV.
Really?
But,
I haven't watched one thing on there.
Apple Plus. It's good.
Man.
So what's my assignment? What am I to watch on Apple
Ted
TV?
Lasso.
Ted Lasso, The Morning Show, the Truth Within, I think that was called, about that podcast. I think it's called The Truth Within, I think it was called. That was good. Most things on there, it's not like Netflix where there's a bunch of things. There's maybe once a month they'll add a new show.
Curated. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all very very good. There's that Jason Momoa thing as well. See.
Yeah, I've been watching that one. I like it.
Yeah. Lots of really good stuff. Yeah, but it's that time of the year now where it's starting to get dark early, and you end up just watching TV all the time. It's just like, ugh.
Oh boy. So what are you guys doing this weekend?
What day is today? It's Friday today, isn't it? Nothing. I've got family coming over again next week, so my brother-in-law is coming over because my sister's bought a house over here, so he's bringing a big truck over and bringing furniture and stuff over from Wales. And Amy's best friend is coming over as well next weekend.
Right. You got a big gig, right?
So the pub's going to be
next
full.
Saturday night. Yeah, next Saturday night is the gig. Yeah, which will be cool. Yes. So nothing really important happening this weekend. Just just basically chilling down with the kids, and hopefully they'll get better because they haven't been good. So yeah.
How have they been doing with
tired.
school?
Well, they haven't been in this week.
Okay.
Yeah, they haven't been in this week because they're just full. Their chest is full of this cold and so on.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, yesterday they're sitting at their little table where they have their dinner and so on, and they just started speaking French to each other. And they don't. I mean, we all say to them, do you learn French in school? And they all say no. And does the teacher speak French?
Assimilation.
Yeah. Do you speak back? No. But there they were, and they had a bowl of peas actually, and they were counting them back and forth to each other in French.
Wow.
And they start, and they kept going up and up. And they went up to like 18. And I'm like, I struggle counting in French past 12. And it was just like, wow, we just didn't know that they. And once they heard us watching them, they got embarrassed and they stopped. But yeah, it's made us think they're picking up stuff that we don't know. It's a different world for them. They're going into school. It's a different language. They come home and they must be sort of departmentalizing the two, because things are so different. But there was that crossover, and it was just like, wow, they're learning.
That's cool.
We just assume they go there and play in sand and draw pictures all day, but they're clearly not. So that's cool.
Super cool.
Yeah. So yeah, twins who can speak a different language, ganging up on us. We've got it all to come.
Sasufi, Dad. Sasufi.
Yeah, it's not going to be great. What about you guys? What's up for the weekend?
What do you got, Mareko?
I'm gonna be. What is it? Tomorrow is Saturday. It's Daddy Dude Day. I think we're gonna have a break in the weather. It's been pretty rainy, which is kind of lame, but also great because it feeds all like the mycelia in the area, and it's. I've been trying to do some mushroom hunting, and out at my in-laws' property, I've found lobster and chanterelle mushrooms out there, and they even grow king boletes out there, or king boletas. And so we're going to go out there and kind of tromps around in the sun and see them and spend some time with them outside, because we haven't really been spending time around them. And maybe walk up through the forest. They have like 16 acres of property, and only 4 of it's clear, like 3 or 4 of it for like the house and the barn and like the field. The rest of it's all wooded with trails through it. So we'll go walking up there.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And then
it's that time of year for mushrooms.
Yeah. And then in the afternoon, some family friends of my wife's that she grew up with their daughters, they have a wedding venue that has a couple orchards. It's like small orchards, maybe a total of 20 or 30 trees total. But they don't harvest any of the fruit at all. And it's that time of the year to start picking it. And so, yeah, anything that drops, for them, mostly it's ornamental. So they collect it, but then they just feed it to the chickens if it falls on the ground. So we're going to go and do some apple picking. And they also have like Asian pear and Bartlett pear and I think Bosque pear as well, and several varieties of apple and some grape kiwi. We'll see if the grape kiwi's worth anything.
That sounds very much around what's happening around here. So where we live, we're very rural, but we're surrounded by apple plantations, where they make the Normandy style cider, I suppose. But yeah, there's hundreds of acres of apple growers around here.
Nice.
So this time of year now we get the influx of different Europeans coming in, doing a season of apple picking, and that started this week. So yeah, it's literally a ripe time for apples.
Sure.
And as you say, mushrooms as well, because we've been pretty wet here as well. So it sounds like we're having the same sort of weather here as you're having there.
Oh, I just remembered. So you got that wood. Do you think mushrooms grow over in your woods?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. So last year we got it sort of when we actually... the sale went through. We were just towards the tail end of the season.
I gotcha.
So now it's the beginning of the season. I'm excited to go, actually. I'll probably, saying that, I might go tomorrow now and have a look. I'm pretty sure it will be, because it's pretty dark wood. It's it's a big old canopy there, and it's been wet, so it's those sort of conditions really. So
sure.
I'm hoping so. Yeah. There's a lot of the region we're in is the Dordogne, but in French it's Périgord, and Périgord's known for their truffle, for the black truffles.
Oh.
So there's a lot of sort of truffling going on around here as well. So we're hoping we can have some old oaks and stuff there. And we'll be able to get some truffles.
How would you find them?
You can
sorry.
How do you find them? So they're generally, the black truffles are generally at the roots of oaks, old oaks, and you'll just smell them. You don't particularly have to go digging too far.
So you're gonna be crawling around, smelling the ground.
Yeah, that's why the French all have big noses, They'll smell out the truffles.
Up here in the Pacific Northwest, we've been more and more truffles have been coming out of like Oregon, Washington, Northern California, and people train their dogs to do the hunting.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you guys should. Not that you don't have enough on your plate. Maybe the girls can train the dog.
Oh, my dog is thick as shit. There's no way he's sniffing out any truffles, believe me. Oh, jeez. No. But there's a lot of cultivated truffles here as well. So, truffle farms, basically, where they'll literally just cultivate them. And they just have rows and rows of old oaks. And they'll put spores in each year.
Oh, wow.
So they will cultivate themselves as well. So, yeah, it's very sort of common around here. So there's lots of knowledge. So I'm sure if I did think there was any there, I could get somebody to come and help me. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I may go mushroom hunting this weekend and see if there's anything there.
Nice.
Both of you get like some sort of poisoning. It's going to be a sad situation.
Well, here it's really cool. So you can go to any farm. The French love their pharmacies. They're everywhere here. And you can go to any pharmacy with any mushrooms that you pick, and all the pharmacists are trained. So this time of year, you see lots of people going to the pharmacies with big baskets of mushrooms, and the pharmacist will just take a look and say, "Yeah, that's edible. No, it's not. Yes," and then they'll help you. So yeah, you don't really have to take that risk, So that's quite nice.
Jeff, have you seen the Fantastic Fungus documentary on Netflix?
No.
You should watch it. The main guy in there, Paul Stamets. Yep, it's all about mushrooms and beyond their uses for psychedelics or culinary uses, how they can be used to do all kinds of stuff to help protect against pests and bacterias and all kinds of stuff. But it's a really cool documentary. It's
I'll check it out.
Very, very easy watch. But the main guy,
what was it called again?
It's called Fantastic Fungi. I was just actually double checking. That's the name. But the main guy in the documentary, his name's Paul Stamets, and he's from the Midwest somewhere, but he's based out of Olympia, Washington. He's got a business here called Fungi Perfecti, where they collect all these various spores and stuff, and they cultivate mushrooms. And but I thought I'd just throw that in there and add that because it's a good resource. Like Craig was just saying about pharmacies.
Giving tips and recommendations. It's unbelievable. This is a resource show. But this is.
It is. Wow. Right, I do need to go. Hour and 48 minutes in. But yeah, it's been a good show. A really good show. It's been enlightening.
Did we hear what Jeff was going to do this weekend? Did you say?
Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit?
I'll
Quite
listen.
true. Yeah. See you next week.
That's it. He's fucking turned the show off.
Come on, Jeff. We've got time. Come on. What are you up to?
I have to prep for Makers Camp. So tomorrow I am actually going to forge some stuff out to kind of shake the cobwebs out, and then the week after that is the class I'm teaching at Dragon's Breath Forge. So I have to start to organize myself and prepare myself. Makers Camp's going to be kind of nuts this year. I'm been getting a lot of messages, and it's going to be kind of nuts. And I'm going to do on the Full Blast podcast next week. I'm going to have a pregame with the Modern Forge guys are going to come on. John, Jesse, Cliff, and I are going to do a pregame before Makers Camp, and then the next week we're going to do the postgame. So we're going to tell all the stories and bump around. So I gotta shake the cobwebs up.
Do you have some tales from the broiler planned for Sunday?
Nothing anybody very interested in. To be honest with you, I'm not. My cooking has become very nothing to write home about. So. Not worth.
I'll send you a bolognese recipe.
Oh yeah, how many? That was P.S. That was the joke about your cookbook class, your cookbook show is that you were going to do 500 recipes for bolognese. Each one's going to be a different font.
The Comic Sans Bolognese Day. Yeah.
All right, folks.
Right.
Enough about that.
That's a good show. Thank you all very much for listening. And we should speak to you again next Monday. Nice. Bye for now.
This show is brought to you by The Makery, the podcast network for makers.
Bundling home and car insurance with Geico is so easy, your neighbors are probably already doing it. But who? They may drop little hints like,
Beautiful day out. Even more beautiful since we saved by bundling our home and car insurance with Geico.
or
Yard work is hard. Much harder than bundling with Geico, which was easy.
or it may be even subtler, like,
Speaking of burgers, we bundled our home and car insurance with Geico and saved a bunch of money.
bundling is easy with Geico. Just ask your neighbors.
And now it's Geico's Motorcycle Rules of the Road. Before you ride, make sure your mirrors are clean and adjusted properly. And if you're going on a group ride, make sure the lead biker knows where they're going.
Ed, quick question. Where are you taking us?
Oh, I have no idea. Well, am I the leader? Because I was following that dude with the red helmet. Where is he?
And the rule to saving on motorcycle insurance is, in 15 minutes, Geico could save you 15% or more.